The phone rang, piercing the silence of Wayne Manor. Alfred Pennyworth, ever the professional, woke immediately, straightening his robe as he answered. Wayne residence. This is Alfred Pennyworth. I'm afraid Thomas and Martha are out for the evening. However, I would be happy to take. He never got to finish. The voice on the other end spoke quickly, but Alfred barely registered the words at first. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be true. But the longer the voice went on, the colder the room seemed to get. It was the call. The call that changed everything. Alfred had plans. At the time, he had believed they were important. He never intended to stay in the Waynes' employ forever. But there are events one cannot plan for. He arrived at the scene, the flashing red and blue lights painting the dark streets in a cold glow. A policeman approached him. Mr. Pennyworth, we need you to come down to the coroner's office to identify the victims. Alfred didn't hesitate. No. The officer looked at him, surprised. They were two of the most prominent figures in the city. Someone else can identify them. I have a far more pressing responsibility. Alfred's voice was steady, but his heart was heavy. Where is he? The officer led him to a small figure, standing alone, lost in a world that had just collapsed around him. Bruce Wayne. Alfred looked down at the boy, his expression blank, his eyes hollow, too young to have seen what he had just seen. He knelt. Come, Master Bruce, let's go home. The mansion felt different that night, colder, quieter. As Alfred tucked Bruce into bed, the boy spoke, his voice small, fragile. It's so big, empty, sad. Alfred stood there for a moment, looking around the vast room that suddenly felt far too large for the boy lying in the center of it. Then he made his choice. He walked back to the bed and sat down beside Bruce. His voice was firm, steady, but kind. It's all right, Master Bruce. It's not so empty. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay in here tonight. Whatever you need, I'm right here. Bruce said nothing. But for the first time that night, his small hand gripped Alfred's sleeve. And from that moment on, Alfred was there, always. It's 3 a.m. when Alfred's phone rings. He already knows who it is. Were you sleeping, Alfred? Bruce asks, voice calm but strained. Alfred sighs. Sir, it's 3 a.m. Why on earth would I be asleep? Meanwhile, Batman is literally hanging onto a Predator drone, steering it away from Gotham's skyline and toward the harbor. With a final effort, he redirects it into the water, then radios Alfred. Coming home. Before Bruce even arrives, Alfred does what he always does. Prepares. He pumps the Batmobile's tires, refills the utility belt, and even whips up a hot, proper soup for Master Wayne. By the time Batman pulls into the cave, Alfred is waiting. Bruce barely acknowledges his own exhaustion as he briefs Alfred on his latest case. Someone calling himself the Drone has been wreaking havoc with UAVs. He grabs his restocked belt and is ready to head out again, but Alfred knows Bruce isn't at 100%. Master Wayne, you have the flu. You need to eat something. Bruce doesn't argue, but he doesn't stop either. So, Alfred hands him a flask of soup, explaining that it fits neatly beside the Batwing's missile switch. It can be consumed one-handed, leaving the other free to fight the forces of evil. With that, Batman is off again, and Alfred does what he always does. Waits. Bruce tracks the drone's last known location, but as he closes in, a UAV appears, launching a missile into a nearby building. He takes the drone out, but his scans pick up something. Someone in the rubble. Alfred, call an ambulance, he says, descending into the ruins. He finds a man, injured but alive, but when Batman questions him, the man suddenly stabs him in the stomach. Bruce barely has time to react before the man, the drone himself, kicks him in the head. But Batman isn't done yet. Even with a knife wound, he grabs the drone's leg and drops him with a brutal counterattack. A moment later, the villain is unconscious. Batman drags him into an alley and radios the GCPD. Your guy is waiting for you. I need a pickup. Alfred doesn't hesitate. He grabs his coat and, for good measure, puts on one of Batman's cowls before jumping into the Batmobile. Back at the crime scene, Bruce is barely staying conscious. Two thugs spot him, lying there, injured. They see an opportunity. They don't see Alfred. Before they can make a move, the butler appears behind them. They get a few good hits in at first, but Alfred adapts. Within seconds, they're on the ground, nursing bruises they'll never forget. I suggest you find a new career, Alfred tells them, before your next beating comes from someone far less forgiving. Then he picks up Bruce, gets him into the Batmobile, and speeds toward home. As they drive, Bruce's condition worsens. His breathing slows, his skin turns pale. Alfred refuses to let him slip away. He activates the Batmobile's emergency medical system, does everything he can to keep Bruce awake, and makes a call. Leslie, code black, I need you ready. By the time they arrive at Dr. Leslie Tompkins' clinic, she's waiting. Alfred fills her in, and together they rush Bruce inside. Hours pass, Bruce stabilizes, Leslie turns to Alfred. Now let me treat your wounds. I'm fine, Alfred says automatically. Leslie raises an eyebrow. Just like Bruce would say, now I know where he gets it from. He sighs, but lets her work. Once patched up, Alfred goes to Bruce's room and does one last thing. He places a mint on his pillow. Bruce Wayne may be Gotham's protector, but tonight at least he can rest. Alfred woke up with a start. His eyes snapped to the clock. 10 a.m. What? No, he shouted, bolting upright. But before he could scramble out of bed, Bruce walked in, carrying a tray with breakfast and a grin. It's okay, you didn't miss anything. Alfred blinked in confusion as Bruce set the tray down beside him. I burnt the crumpets again, Bruce admitted, shaking his head. I've brought down elaborate global criminal empires using the barest scraps of information, but I cannot work out how to toast a crumpet. Alfred raised an eyebrow. You took my communicator and my phone. Bruce simply nodded. I did. I didn't want you to be disturbed. Alfred stared at him, then exhaled in mock exasperation. How did you take them from beside my bed without me notice? Oh, of course. You're you. A small, proud smile tugged at his lips. Still duty called. How are you feeling, Master Bruce? Bruce gave a tired shrug. A bit stabbed. Alfred sighed but refrained from lecturing. For now, Bruce stood, stretching. I'll leave you to rest. I should go. Patrol time, sir? Yes, Alfred tensed. You'll call? No. Alfred sat up straighter. If you expect me to stay in bed, not knowing if you're... Bruce cut him off gently. I'm not going. That caught Alfred off guard. What? Bruce met his gaze, his voice softer than usual. I realize you can't relax if I'm out there. I didn't want you to have to worry today. Alfred narrowed his eyes. Really? And why is today special? Bruce didn't answer. He just smiled, that rare, genuine smile, and walked toward the door. Get some rest, Alfred. Alfred watched him go, then looked down at the plate of slightly charred crumpets. He took a slow bite, his chest feeling warmer than it had in a long time. Because he knows today is Father's Day.